Welcome to the opening day of 2020 Vision. I'm David Kratz. I'm the president of the New York Academy of Art.
And I'm Stephanie Roach, the director of the Flag Art Foundation.
2020 Vision is a show that grew organically in reaction to the times. We started with an examination of the pandemic's effect on society, how it would change us, what we would want to retain, what we would guard against. And then something else major happened, the murder of George Floyd. We realized that we had to include both of these events in the show, as they were events that would forever change our world.
We asked artists, writers, and creative thinkers to consider 3 questions of critical importance. Our lives will never be the same, but what will change look like? What do we want to keep as we rebuild? And what must we guard against?
We ended up with 42 visual artists and 18 writers.
I think as curators, our job in this case was to listen to the artists and to the writers and allow their perspectives to be put out into the world so that viewers could really listen and learn.
2020 is definitely a test for, all of us to, see if we're going to fold under pressure, if we're going to still settle for what's been going on for many years and hasn't been working, or are we going to somehow come together, talk about things, and try to make the best out of a bad situation. With my painting, it was just like another reminder to me of how fragile life is, but also these guys were very influential, very strong, and even though they all died prematurely, they left behind a legacy that was pretty amazing.
I think we live through unheard times. Nobody has expected it. But then again, I think also as artists, we're kind of called to action in a strange way. But then you think, what can you do? How can I channel my anxiety? The series is called Everyday Objects in the Time of a Pandemic, and it starts from the very beginning, and it really depicts diaristically the objects that we kind of either craved or couldn't find. Comparing also the pandemic in the States and with other countries, I feel there's a lot more we should have done, we can do, and so I'm just taking stock of where we stand right now.
Well, it was interesting to be in COVID because I was in a bubble. We're really yearning for that touch. So before, when our technology was entertaining us and keeping us in our bubbles, now we are forced to be in a bubble, and we can't leave the bubble. The rug was pulled out from underneath us, and now all we do is yearn for that human touch.
So the idea was to build up a patchwork quilt of voices. So we end up having a whole variety of poetry, song lyrics, essays, and one particular index. The juxtaposition of written word and art is what makes this show so moving.
The way I always process things is through artists, and particularly through conversations with artists. And I was very interested to hear and think about what they are experiencing in this moment. Conversations I was having with artists were all about what was happening inside the studio. The studio was the safe space. It was the creative space. The interesting thing is that when George Floyd happened and protests and demonstrations began, the conversation shifted, and it became less about what I'm doing in my studio alone as an independent creator to what can I do outside the studio? How can I collaborate with people? How can I connect with other artists? How can I express my voice and my vision in a way that has a wider impact? People need to come and see how artists are responding to these important issues. Artists and writers are the antenna of society. People look to artists to understand the present and also to see what the future holds. When your child asks you, what does Black Lives Matter mean? You know, that's a simple question and it's a complicated question. And it's a question which you can have for many years with your children, with your friends, with yourself. And I said to myself, why not start this conversation now?